So we're back here. We're at the Setting the Space studio, the Octane Media Plymouth Rock TV studio here in Kingston. And we're with Alec Sulkin, writer, producer, father, social media mogul, the whole mogul-ish.
Mogul-ish, yeah.
So you got Ramble,
yeah,
right? And so what was the genesis of that? How that?
Well, yeah, so Ramble is a new app. It's a social texting app, which is something I feel like sounds a little clinical, but it's basically based off of being on group text chains with the Family Guy writers over the years. Whenever we needed to find a joke or sort of talk about something that we would think like, would this be a funny idea? Or even people wishing each other a happy holiday, like Memorial Day stands out in my mind. We had a hilarious text chain about how unbrave we all were. And that you know, we should be, you know, honoring these people who did all the shit that stuff we would never do.
You could say that. We're streaming.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember we talked about that?
We did. Yeah. I didn't know if it
different
was Hulu rules or Plymouth Rock TV rules.
It's Plymouth Rock TV rules.
Okay. Thank you, Plymouth Rock TV. But so it came out of this thing of like, and I'm sure you have friends like this, whether it's a fantasy football team, just your friends, you have that group chat that always kind of makes you laugh. And I started to feel like I wish people could see this. You know, the Family Guy writer is trying to pitch on these jokes and it leads into all sorts of funny riffs. And that got me thinking of this idea of, you know, Instagram. When Instagram first came out, I thought, well, that's a stupid idea. You can already post pictures on Facebook. Like, what is the point of this? And I didn't realize that a dedicated outlet to photos, there's no end of gasoline for that engine. You know, it's like people keep taking photos, they keep wanting to show it to their friends and their family and say, look, this is what I'm doing. And for all kinds of, you know, psychological reasons that probably need to be addressed. But then I thought, well, could there be an app like that for texting? Obviously, there's WhatsApp where you can text everybody, and that's very successful. But you can't watch people texting. Like if you said, oh, you know, The Rock and Kevin Hart are starting a new project together. Wouldn't it be fun to see what they're texting each other? Or that famous Avengers text chain where they would always kind of like be texting. Wouldn't it be fun to see that? So Ramble is basically that. And now it's not something that digs into your texts and your personal information and your contacts and says, okay, here are all your texts. Nobody wants that. You don't want full transparency. You want to understand that this is performative. Just like for Instagram, you wouldn't just have it take every picture you've made and put it out there. That would be embarrassing. So for Ramble, it's just like another place to text people. But it's they're texts that you hope will be entertaining in some way for other people to see. So we did a thing on there recently where we had the Family Guy writers, about 6 or 7 of them. We did an actual writer's room on there. We need one line for Stewie to end this scene.
Whoa,
and
so that's pretty cool,
So then we had a whole back and forth with people pitching, and some people were riffing on things that had nothing to do with the joke. And so it was a really nice way to kind of see behind the curtain of that process. I've got a few friends who are Simpsons writers who are on there. I'm trying to encourage them to maybe do something similar. So that's just a feature of it in terms of,
Let me ask you a question. So if your line gets picked, right, does that elevate you? Do you get a credit for that or something like that? Or
a Ramble credit?
Or I don't know, like if I see my line on Family Guy, will I see my name in the credits?
Well, but we didn't crowdsource it, no. So that's different. We had a half dozen Family Guy writers on there who were pitching, and others could watch down in the bottom.
Oh, okay, spectators.
Yeah, they could. So basically, Ramble is you can invite up to 12 friends to text with you. So they'd be in the body of the text. But anybody who's on Ramble could come watch. So if they knew, oh, hey, I'm a Family Guy fan, and I see that they're going to be doing this writer's room thing, I want to watch that. You can watch it and you can comment on it like you would on an Instagram post, but you can't be in the body of it. That's just for the the people who are texting. So if you had a funny relative or you're in a fantasy football league with a bunch of funny guys and you wanted to text about that every time, then people could come watch and say like, yeah, that's funny.
Oh, I got it. So it's like a voyeuristic writer's room kind of scenario.
Exactly. And in the best case scenario, it becomes something like Instagram where people just instinctively know now, oh, I took a good picture. Maybe I'll put this on Instagram. When people are texting and say like, oh, this is funny, let's move this over to Ramble.
So there was a good opportunity for me to, I was telling you about my joke that I said and I had to explain. You want to hear it?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm in Market Basket in Bourne.
Yep.
Okay, one of my favorite.
Been there.
It's my happy
Been there,
place.
right over the bridge.
Yeah,
Love
it's
it.
great. And so we're walking through there on Sunday, and my wife says, do you smell mothballs? And I said, I've never been that close to a moth to be able to sniff them.
Very nice. I like it.
It was good,
I
right?
like that.
No
was
preparation,
right away.
quick.
Yeah.
And she just rolled her eyes at me, and I thought it was perfection.
Now, who rolled eyes, daughter or wife?
Wife.
Okay. Yeah, well, you'll get that standard operating procedure.
But I then had to explain to her just what opportunity she missed, and it's like, you were in the presence of something pretty special at that point.
I've got another line. See, just to show you how often that happens, and I agree with you. She is in the presence of something special.
Right. I
She's
mean,
got to
mothballs.
acknowledge that.
Who thinks that?
Here's
Who thinks
something,
testicles on a
but
moth?
next time you take it a step further. This will show you how often I've gone through that exact scenario. When my wife rolls her eyes at me after a dad joke, I always say like, "Hey, we're about to have dinner. Don't fill up on eye rolls." And then I get the double. I get the double.
You're better than that, though. You're a professional.
No, I'm just that.
Don't bring me down to that level. I think you're up here. I was really excited to bring that up to you.
Anything that can be punned should be punned.
Okay,
you don't
I got it.
don't.
But
miss an
I
opportunity.
also have to explain that you got to take a lot of swings.
So
and,
many.
And a good comedian will fail 95% of the time, and they're building on it.
Yeah.
But they're seeing the
process.
The rat run across the room, and Walt Disney goes, "Hey, I should do something with that."
Yeah.
Right? That's what they're witnessing, which is like brilliant.
Yeah.
What an opportunity
they need
for
to
them.
acknowledge it. And I read something on Instagram recently about how kids of parents who make quote unquote dad jokes lead happier lives because they learn how to deal with awkward social situations from an early age. So I took a little bit of pride in that. I said, okay, I'm teaching.
Is your wife funny? Do you
Not at all.
No?
No.
Does she appreciate your humor?
Nope.
No?
Doesn't like it. A lot of scowls, a lot of eye rolls.
So what makes it work for you two lovebirds?
Still unclear, but we're chugging along after 15 years. She doesn't particularly appreciate my humor. She doesn't claim to be particularly humorous herself. Stop me if you haven't heard any of this.
No, right?
Yeah, so listen.
She appreciates the Louis Vuitton bag she might be walking around with.
She doesn't even do that.
No?
She reminds me often, she's like, you're lucky I'm not one of those women who's into like handbags and shoes. And I say, well, you're kind of like into houses, so I don't know. It's like maybe they would cancel each other out.
Yeah.
But
she's nice. I talked to her. She's a nice lady.
She's very nice, very smart, beautiful, and I love her. But the humor thing, we miss each other very much in that area.
Does she have a sense of humor, or she just doesn't buy your sense of
She
humor?
she loves the Geico lizard. Like if everything could be the Geico lizard or delivered by the Geico lizard, then I think she would be absolutely happy. She doesn't like corny puns. She doesn't like edgy dark, and those are the two extremes where I live. Yeah.
How's her sense of smell? Good.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sadly for her.
And your kids, what are they?
Well, my daughter, I only have one kid, daughter, who's 9, and I think she has a great sense of humor. It's really, it's sharp. She was in class, and they came back from lunch, and one of the other kids wasn't there, and the teacher was asking, does anyone know where, Rebecca is? And my kid right away said, she's dead. And like, this was reported back to me in horror from my wife, who's saying, do you know what our daughter said? And like, I couldn't stop laughing. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do because I think that's funny. Like she said it right in the moment. She gets points for speed. And it's clearly not true. It's absurd. Right. So that's
Class clowns, it's a rough road because, I mean, it's appreciated after the fact when you turn out to be Will Ferrell or Kristen Wiig or something. Then, man, they were so funny in school. But until then, they were just really rambunctious or annoying. You know, you can imagine what like Gilbert Godfrey was when he was in elementary school.
Yeah,
you know,
probably
that kind of
a
thing.
little annoying.
Yeah, probably a difficult person to get along with.
Yeah,
You know?
and a little shrill.
How is it when, I mean, do you get a lot of from the Ramble? And by the way, you can get it. We're in all the app stores.
It's on the App Store. Yeah, I think it's right now only available for Apple products. Yeah, it's on the App Store. Give it a try. And
I'm on there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, it takes a little bit of practice. Just like when I first had Instagram, I don't think I used it for 2 years, and then finally I was like, oh, you hit this plus button, and then, you know, once you get a little used to it, it's fine. One of the exciting things is I have a couple of good friends who are over in the Barstool world, so I'm talking with them, try and see if, you know, we can make this app a thing for them. You know, you get Barstool West Virginia to be texting about an upcoming football game. You get Barstool USC, Barstool.
We could do something like that, have fun with it at Plymouth Rock. You know?
Yeah.
And we had Jerry Thornton, who's a good friend of mine, who's a
I
writer.
love Jerry.
Oh yeah, so he's been in that chair. I should say over there. We had him over there, but
I love Jerry.
Yeah,
so I look young and spry compared to Jerry.
Jerry, he's a handsome man.
I love it. I love it.
I'll put it there.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of sense of humor mixed with this knowledge of
Sports.
everything Bill Belichick.
Oh, I love it.
He does like Jesus and Bill Belichick. Those are the two, and they're very, very intertwined.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like 6 half dozen.
I met him at my church, and I'm like sitting. I go, "You're Jerry Thornton," and he goes, "Yeah." And he moved to Plymouth. He's a Plymouth resident.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love
he's
Jerry.
a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's sort of the internet and social media genius is allowing people to everyone. We were talking about this with our team before. Everyone's a content creator. Everyone's a media company. If you have a Facebook page or whatever you got, and I remember when, to your point about the Instagram, when texting first came out.
Yeah, me too.
I thought, why? This is dumb. You can already call somebody.
Yeah,
that
just call
seems
them and
more.
tell them.
And then what I didn't take into consideration is the fact that you don't want to really talk to somebody, right? So it was the ability to, just communicate without actually doing that.
Absolutely. And then from that, which was probably the late 90s that you got into texting, at least that's when I did. I first got a phone that had the ability to text, I think in
Where did you go to college?
I went to Connecticut College in New London, Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you, again, you're my age. We didn't have computers like it was now. And I was not somebody that liked to use a typewriter. I only think that back then it was just so different. We were playing, what was that game? What was the Lewis and Clark?
Yeah, the Oregon Trail.
Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
Like, and somebody had that little Mac in their room, and you were like, that kid is dope.
Choplifter.
Oh, man.
That was a big one.
Yep. I mean, it was wild.
Yeah. The advent of texting was a huge thing.
Yeah.
And today we're at a point where I obviously had to do the bare minimum research on this because of the app, but in America, there are, I think it's like 6 to 7 billion text messages sent every day. And if you go around the planet, that's 25 to 30 billion texts every day. And now I'm not saying every one of those is like some kind of hilarious joke, but it is content. And especially if you're a writer, you feel like, oh, I'm trying to make my friends laugh, or I'm trying to make an artful point here. Like, there's some version of this where I feel like there's this giant wellspring of this text content that needs to be tapped. So that is another part of where Ramble came from. Yes, my friends, I feel, are funny. Yes, I think people should see this, but I think a lot of people have that experience with their friends or family or people they work with, where they say like, oh my God, these text exchange with person X are just hilarious.
Right.
Those people could find their way to Ramble, and then eventually everyone.
They said that there's more pictures taken every second than there were in the entire history of mankind before like 1900.
That's unbelievable.
Think of that.
Unbelievable.
And you say it, and it's just a different way of saying, yeah, that seems obvious because people can, but it's just wild.
I know with my daughter, I say this a lot. We're taking her picture here, there, whatever. I often say to my wife, I said, she's had more pictures taken of her than the Beatles.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
You're right.
You know?
And when you just was phone, it was so hard for me to like send nudes over phone. I had to call people and describe myself. Now texting is just like, you know, and you send
you're
it.
sending the
I would call them and be like,
nudes,
okay, I'm looking really good right now.
the nudes
you know?
over a Daguerreotype.
Exactly.
It's just not too many points.
So the world right now, very woke, if you want to call it that, very sensitive. Like comics,
It isn't.
It isn't. It isn't. But
Yeah.
like for comedians and stuff, people get canceled and this and that.
Yeah.
How does that play a role? Because you must have to think twice, maybe a third time before putting a joke out. Because in the comedy room, people can. We talked about this on our show with Charmin, who is the. Brought this, wonderful beverage for us. We did a show on laughter being medicine, right?
Yeah.
And helping people.
Yep.
And I would, with my comedian friends, you could say anything you wanted to them, and they just
Totally.
got it.
Yeah.
You could be at their parents' funeral and make a joke, and they would
Yes.
just appreciate it.
Yep.
Right? But everybody is very sensitive, and it's college campuses are different. Like comics, when I did stand-up, I made a good living going from college to college. Now they just don't do it.
Right.
So how does that play a role? Does it, or do you just go, you know what, I'm just going to be funny and let the filter out there?
Well, it plays a role, but obviously anyone, and myself included, we've had a lot of practice at this line of thought because, yes, obviously with the Me Too movement in sort of 2015, 16, there was a shift in kind of what you had to think about before you put something out there. But there are always these little micro shifts. And in general, you have to be captain of your own ship. It's like you have to take responsibility for what you're doing. If what you put up there upsets people, you gotta take it. As far as cancellation, I feel like for better or worse, cancellation is kind of going away. People don't really get canceled anymore. There was a rash of it where all of a sudden it was like, who was that comedian from Parks and Rec who got kind of canceled?
Aziz Ansari.
Aziz Ansari, that's his name. And so he got weirdly canceled. And I remember there were obviously people like Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby.
Well, like the Louis C.K.
The Louis C.K. thing, listen,
whatever. It was what it was.
That's very, you've hit on something for me where I feel Louis C.K. is hilarious, a hilarious stand-up. And I feel that what happened, while gross, and not something I would have done, it didn't rise to the level of this guy's being canceled. And everyone's saying, well, the power structure, and he's more powerful than them. They were sitting
Who amongst us has not done something that if made public, you'd be embarrassed?
Not me,
I mean,
certainly.
You have not?
No.
Finish your beer.
No. You said who amongst us? I said not me.
Oh,
I've done many things
that
I wouldn't want made public. But I felt that situation was so gray, and the fact that he was kind of canceled and had a lot of opportunities taken away from him, I did not agree with that. But then again, I'm not going to sit here and try to argue with people who find it incredibly offensive and do agree with that. I think that's what's the problem in our society. One of the problems is that we just don't allow any room for an opinion that might be different than
But
ours.
comedy is different than any other art form because it is a challenge to somebody's sensibilities, and it is by nature supposed to put you on your, like, oh, I didn't expect that. And so in the context of a comedic environment, or even if somebody were to get up on stage and do Family Guy jokes per se, it would be different than the cast of these animated characters doing it.
Absolutely. When you see something coming out of a cartoon character's mouth,
it's nobody. It's like a mannequin that somebody is holding. They go, I don't know, this guy. He's a sexual harasser, but not me.
You're much more forgiving. It's like it's a cartoon, and this is Family Guy, and we know. But yes, if you got on stage as a comedian and made, sang the You've Got AIDS song that we have a barbershop quartet sing on Family Guy.
Yeah.
Like if you did that on stage as a solo comic, I don't know that would go great.
I was you've been to the Wellfleet Drive-In?
I have.
Yeah. So we went a long time ago, and it was the South Park. I forget the first movie. The South Park movie was the second one. So you know how that works. The intermission, everyone go to the snack bar, and the little dancing hot dog comes out. So the beginning of that movie, if you remember, they broke the record for the most use of the F word.
Yes.
So you got a parking lot filled with cars of families vacationing and wealthy, you know, having a good time. And that movie starts, and it was just headlight,
Backing
and people pulling
out?
out. Yeah,
That's
it was
great.
just like everyone evacuating, turn the speaker off as quickly as they could.
Amazing.
But like people will go to something like that and not know.
Right.
Yeah, it's an animated show. It's you know,
Yeah.
and they pushed it. But people they're sensitive to things, and you know, and I get it. Look, being a father, I'm different now than I was back in the day. I
Sure,
think
me
that
too.
I'm a little bit more aware of like what
You let your
my
kids
ears.
see.
Well, even myself too.
Yeah.
But I do think comedy and comics and people like you are the Avengers of tomorrow, because we got to bring some lightheartedness back and some levity to the world. I mean, we just got to have fun with things.
Couldn't agree
Ease
more.
the tension,
Yep.
you know? And I think
Agreed.
that somebody like yourself is doing a great job of bringing so much happiness and joy to folks.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
You have a good you have like a wrap up tone here.
Well, no, I'm just
Oh, okay.
I'm just letting the
I can feel this.
I've already forgotten
I can feel this already. By the way.
greater good. Yeah, I've got a nice warm glow to me. I should have
Yeah.
worn my glasses. We'd be beer twins here. You know, greater good. But yeah, it's great because I think shows as popular as ever. What's next? Are you focused on Ramble as the main thing, or are you?
Well, no, I mean, I'm still focused on Family Guy.
What's your dream? Bucket list kind of thing? Is there anything
bucket
else?
list dream is to have Ramble get huge. I sell it for an obscene amount of money, and I get to live my days out on the Cape and give the middle finger to anyone else who wants me not to live there.
Yeah. Where do you go? Where do you hang out? At the chart room over there?
I love the chart room. Get a mudslide at the chat room.
Yeah, the chat room. You got to get like you must be the guy that has the standing reservation at that place. You got to get it at the beginning of the season.
You do. I do call in at the beginning of the season, like the day they open.
Yeah,
and
say
it's always
every Saturday
It's
night.
always the same thing. I've been doing this because we have friends who come down over the 4th of July, so those dates obviously are hard to come by at the chart room. So
Yeah.
you have to call early, and they give me the same day. I don't know. What do you got? You got 13 people. I don't know if we can do that. And I said, I call every year. This usually happens.
Yeah.
We'll ask Dave.
Yeah.
We'll talk to Dave, and then they're like, yeah, it says it's okay. We can't guarantee we'll sit you together. I'm like, that's fine. They always do.
And what's the other place that the Bruin guy owns at Miller?
Oh, yeah, the Courtyard.
Courtyard.
The Courtyard.
The Courtyard.
Yep, they got good pizza there. Brick oven. Very
I can't
nice.
go back.
Why? You've
I'm
been
on
banned?
I'm on the ban. No, I'm just kidding. But I did have the last time. I don't know if I could. That was a long time ago. But like that's a fun place.
Love it.
The
That's
Lobster
right up the
Trap
street. Yeah.
is right there.
Lobster Trap's great.
You know, that's a tough place to get into too. And
Well, they don't accept reservations.
no, they don't.
Yeah.
So you got to wait.
It's a good time of year now, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're down. Like, will you go year round down there? Like,
I try to get there as often as I can. We had a week off this week, so I decided I'd come back, and I'm there with a few of my friends from college. We're watching the NCAAs, and just like
you do the brackets and all that.
I don't do the brackets. I know enough now to know. I've been so unbelievably terrible at the brackets that I just want to watch the games to enjoy them. But the very fun thing is, I'm sure you know from your friends, is when a friend has a bet on something, it's fun to root against them. So that's what
They
we've been
absolutely
doing all
love
week.
that.
Yeah.
And you see, there's nothing sadder to me than watching Buffalo Bills fans on Instagram. And I almost think you can't possibly be literally throwing a keg through a TV in your living room.
They do it.
And they do it.
They do it.
And that is as bad as it gets. We used to be that way.
We
I
did.
mean, you know, when I was in graduate school, I did a documentary on the Boston sports fan and how it was child abuse to raise your kid, because it was
the
loss
drought.
after loss. It was after '86, and we couldn't win anything. And then guess what, Alec?
turnaround.
Guess what happened?
Tom Brady.
I reversed the curse. No, right after that, the Red Sox, the Patriots won in 2001,
I remember
which was
that.
incredible. You do remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
That was the greatest sports night I think I ever witnessed. That one, that was the difference, because that was going from nothing to everything.
No, that changed everything.
That changed everything.
Changed everything. I think the Patriots winning that Super Bowl lit a fire under the Red Sox ownership that said we can't fall behind the Patriots.
And the Celtics were always pretty good,
Always,
you know, like,
always.
but they had their down, and now
They're
we're
back.
climbing back.
They're
and
back.
you know, Bruins are always threatening, and what's that lacrosse team? I just die for them. You know, I'm just.
And the Revs.
You know what?
The Revs.
You can't. I got a Revs tattoo on my back.
Yeah, I knew you would.
And yeah, it's a great place. New England is such a great place, and
love it so much.
And that's the Plymouth Rock TV notion, is that it's such a character, right? You're the Boston guy in LA, correct? Like everyone, when you're wearing this Red Sox hat when you get off at LAX, and people are like, park the car, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and there are a lot of Boston guys in LA.
Yeah.
It's a common migration. I noticed there are a lot of people from Newton. Everybody's from Newton in LA. I don't know what happened.
The Krasinskis. We got one, Paul Krasinski's down here in Plymouth, and that's John's brother.
Yeah.
And
just a lot of people from
Novak,
Newton.
and Steve Carell's down here. But like, who else is from? Oh yeah.
I just always meet people from Newton, like not BJ Novak. Mindy Kaling's from somewhere.
She's from
right around there.
She is from somewhere.
She's from somewhere. But so many comedy writers I meet. There's a guy named Steve Lookner. I meet so many comedy writers.
You can argue, literally, Boston is the epicenter of the world for comedy. I mean, you can make that argument.
You can make the argument.
Yeah, because you've got, for a city, even, the Louis C.K.'s and the
Bill
Steve Sweeney's, Bill Burr, Lenny Clark,
Stephen Wright,
yeah. And then,
Leno,
Jay Leno.
Yeah.
Sandler's New Hampshire, but then New York.
We'll take him. We'll take him.
It's just a
hub.
hotbed.
And it's because
the college scene.
It's because people are so often miserable here, and out of misery comes really funny comedy.
Well, that was what it was when I lived in L.A. They didn't give a shit about sports.
I know.
They liked it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I got my Dodgers hat on, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when the Raiders would lose, or at that time, whatever, they'd just go to the beach after.
It wouldn't gut them. It wouldn't
Right.
gut them the way it
we
guts
couldn't
us.
leave the house because it was 20 degrees out and freezing rain and miserable. That's all we had.
Yeah, they're fair weather fans, literally and figuratively out there.
When the Patriots lost the undefeated season, Alec, I'm telling you, I
don't know why that has to get brought up in an
Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because this was a big change in my life. I needed psychological help from that, like literally. And then a few weeks later, I was emceeing an event with the Patriots at Agganis Arena, and I'm talking to the guys in the green room. A lot of the players were there. Gostkowski and Gronk was there, and a few of the other players. Randy Moss was not. And I remember going up to them like it was a wake, and I was like, "How you guys doing?" And they're like, "What? What do you mean?" I'm like, "How are you?"
Care.
They said, "You care about this more than we do." And I go, "Oh my God, why? Why do I?"
Yeah.
These guys are moving a ball up a lawn, and I'm that distraught by it. But it has made me appreciate more of, like, did you see The Comeback on Netflix?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like, amazing.
I love that.
That was
Although
brilliant.
I would submit that Reverse the Curse of the Bambino was equally as good
I don't know
or
if I
better.
saw that one.
That was the one, I think HBO did that years ago. And it was...
Really? You thought it was better? I gotta watch it.
It was certainly more timely. I know they were waiting for the anniversary to do this Reverse the Curse thing. And of course I ate it all up. I loved it.
What about the Apple TV Patriots one? That was brutal.
Yeah, no.
That put all of the bad... I never added it all up.
They
and you
crammed
saw it
it
and you're like,
all.
oh my God, that too, and that too,
I know.
and that too. And it was shocking, like, to see it all in one. But it was very entertaining.
Yeah.
And there's the Celtics one now.
I'm watching that too.
Is it good?
It is good. It
Yeah.
is good. Yeah. No, it's fun to see. Fun to see.
So my appreciation now comes from the storytelling of, like, Full Swing. I don't watch tournaments, golf tournaments, but I watch something like that, the behind the scenes, which I think is, a good callback to Ramble, because it's getting people behind the curtain of the creative process and seeing how things are done from an insider's perspective, which I think is any interested person would want to see how that
Very
goes.
good point. Very well tied
What was
off.
the funniest thing you found on there? Have you seen anything there you're like, this is why this app is awesome?
Oh, on Ramble?
Yeah.
It's not awesome yet. That's a good advertising for my app, right? No, I do think, honestly, having the Family Guy writers pitching on that joke was very gratifying, and I felt like this is exactly what I wanted when I had the idea for the app.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, man, thank you for coming on.
Hey, let's toast a
Let's
Greylock
toast
and a...
You got a lot more.
I know. How did
booze
you
in
work
you.
through that? You just take bigger sips or what?
Well, it's 8%. I don't have to go. You've got a lot more fun in your can.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Yep.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard that.
You know, he's got a nice can, everybody. We'll maybe show that. You can text it or call it in.
Yeah, you can ramble it.
Yeah. Alec Sulkin, everybody, thank you for watching. And check out
Chuck.
Ramble, available in the Apple Store.
Yep.
And Barnes & Noble.
No, the App Store. Let's not call it the Apple Store, because people
Store.
feel like they have to drive to that one in Hingham that the guy drove
Oh,
through
right. Yeah, don't
a couple of years
do
ago.
that.
Drove through the front door.
I know. Man, that's why I don't go into
I know, I don't go there anymore.
I didn't switch to Android, though. I'm an Apple guy.
Good for
Yeah,
you.
Apple a day keeps, you know it away. All right, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Enjoy Ramble and enjoy Greater Good. And thanks for watching Plymouth Rock TV.
Friend.